Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hyperconscious Podcast. Alan, what is hyperconscious?
Once you understand why something is the way that it is, now you have the power to change it. Great conversations with great people and great questions are the keys to the kingdom of unlocking your consciousness.
Every single action that you do starts as a thought. When you control the way you think, you will control the way you act, and you will control the way you live. That is hyperconscious. Geographically? Geographically. This is cool. So I would say make sure that pretty face is showing.
Yes, true.
They're going to want to see that thing. They're going to want to see that thing, Alan. That face. You good? Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. So today is another installment in our Small Talks series. This is episode number 100, the big 100.
100.
We have crossed a milestone.
The chasm,
Yes.
so to speak.
Sure. Sure. Big 100. I remember a year and a half ago when this whole thing started. Never thought this would be a thing. But today we're going to do episode number 2 in the Small Talks installment.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about legacy.
Legacy.
So resilience is kind of my word. That's what I have attached to myself. That's kind of my one word.
The never quit kid.
Alan's one word is legacy.
Yep.
So that is why we're doing it in that order. And I think you should start because it's your word.
So first and foremost, legacy. A little bit of backstory on me. You know, if you're a listener to this podcast, you know that my father passed away when I was 2 years old, and I've reconnected with several people from my past over the last 4 or 5 years, just kind of reflecting and asking them their honest feedback about things they've noticed, things about me, just trying to get a bird's eye view of me as a whole after I, you know, kind of was doing some soul searching after a car accident and getting jumped by that schizophrenic. So that's a story for another time, but long story short here, for the purposes of this episode, I grew up my entire life hearing stories about my dad and how much he was able to impact so many people in such a short amount of time. So he passed away when he was 28, and growing up seeing my mother, my sister, my aunts, my uncles, seeing the impact that he had on my entire extended family and far beyond that as well is just, I think a lot of people have thought about what it would be like if they were to pass away. But I think that for me personally, I've had a very emotional long-term relationship with legacy, at a deeper level. And so maybe that's the one beautiful thing out of the tragedy of him passing away so young. So legacy is very near and dear to my heart. And at the end of the day, legacy is about what impact do you want to have on the people in your life and on the world?
So I don't, for the listeners, I don't do much pre-rep work when it comes to the scratching the surface or the small talks. Like, I like to just kind of go in the moment, go what feels right. And I was doing a little bit of thinking before this, and I was thinking to myself that a lot of people are living for today, or maybe like the rest of the week, or maybe until they get to their vacation. And when legacy means something to you, legacy means so much to me. It means I want you guys to remember me for, somebody who was willing to help you, who was unselfish, who was selfless, who was always there, who was a man of his word. Like, do I want to be wealthy? Of course I do. I'm not going to lie and say I don't. But at the end of the day, I want people to remember me for what I had on the inside. And like, I was always the person that you could go to. So when people think of the next month or the next year, if you compare that to wanting to leave a legacy behind, that's why you and I are so, I don't really care what happens this week.
Right.
I know I have to do what I have to do to keep things going, but I'm looking 5-10 years down the road. I want so many people to remember me for what I've helped them with. And I understand that right now, we were talking about the Simon Sinek talk about Apple doesn't care about what Android or Samsung or any of them are doing. They don't care if they're winning in the moment.
Yeah.
Because they're going to win long term. They're always going to improve, and they're going to be remembered forever. That's kind of what we're doing. Like, I don't have a lot of results to show you guys right now, but I'll tell you right now, I'm the most capable version of myself I've ever been. And the only reason is because I want to be on my deathbed and say, hell yeah, I left behind an awesome legacy. I have a great reputation for the man that I was, and everybody knew that this is my thing. This is what I was all about. I love you guys so much. I haven't met most of you, and I look forward to meeting all of you, hopefully, but that's why I do this. That's why I tell the stories. That's why I'm so vulnerable. It's because I want you guys to know that this shit's possible, and I mean, in an unselfish, kind of selfish way, I guess, I want you guys to know that you can do it because of us.
So for the listeners right now, like, think about someone who really touched your soul. I often say mind, body, heart, and soul, right? I wear this true north. You know, the top is the mind, the bottom is the body, the left part is your heart, you know, and then soul. So people do Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I do mind, body, heart, and soul. The mind is your psychology. The body is your physiology. Your heart is where your emotions are, your subconscious mind. And then your soul is something beyond that. Your soul is what, you know, I ask all those questions to the guests, like, what about you never changed? Your soul is the part of you that is the deepest part, I think. And that's what legacy is about. Like ultimately putting yourself in the position of being on your deathbed and saying, like, what did I do? Who did I touch? And most importantly, why? Like, what do you stand for? What do you want to stand for in the world? For me, I believe that when we pass away, two things are what we are going to be remembered for. I have a plaque in my room by Greg Plitt that says it's what you do in the dash. So you say, okay, so I think Steve Jobs lived from, and don't harp on the numbers here, I think it's like 1960 something to, or 1959 to I think 2011. And it's what you do in the dash, you know, so that dash in between those 2 year numbers. So you're going to be remembered for two primary things, in my honest opinion. How courageously you fought for what you believe in, and how fiercely you loved. And to me, those are the two things that are going to have the biggest impact on you and your life and on the lives of others. And so if you think about right now, someone who really touched your soul, they touched your mind for sure. That's the shiny objects. They touched your body and your heart as well. But like your soul, this is if you connect mind, body, heart, and soul, this person changed you forever, hands down. You would not be who you are today without this person. Picture that person in your mind. That's legacy. And I don't know what vehicle it is for you, but I think that ultimately that's what matters most, because at the end of the day, the only thing that's ever going to make you feel fulfilled is growing and contributing. And the more you grow, the more you have to give, which is contribution, and then the more you contribute, the more you're going to want to grow. Kevin was at a gala with me. Joanna, shout out to you. She's leaving a massive legacy of all these people that are educated now that wouldn't have been with top-notch scholars. Like, that's real, tangible difference that she's making. And Kevin donated $100, and he didn't do it so I would say it. I just want to say it because it was so cool to see him light up to give money he doesn't fucking have to a cause greater than himself. And so I think that's what matters most. I think that's always going to be what matters most, and that's what matters most to me. And the way you live your life, if you are focused on legacy, I promise you will be very different than a lot of people, and you'll probably be misunderstood. But I think it's far greater in the long run.
You got me tearing up there a little bit. I think that you can attach it so easily to Y Power too. It's like, going even touching on that, yeah, I don't have the money, but this was for a girl who needed a scholarship to go to college. It's like, man, fuck it, I'll figure it out. Yeah. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And she came over and gave us a hug after, and it's like, I don't care if nobody ever found out about that. It just feels so good to help somebody who doesn't necessarily even expect to be helped.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't know she was going to get called up on stage and get the opportunity to get a scholarship.
No.
She didn't know. I didn't know I was going to donate when I went there. I just felt it in the moment. I had a $100 bill in my pocket. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I like what you said about you're going to get maybe looked at differently and treated differently. It's like, I know a lot of people around me don't understand why I do what they do, and they don't understand why I don't care about what they care about. But that's because they don't necessarily want the same thing I want.
Exactly.
I'm willing to look like an idiot. I'm willing to get rejected. I'm willing to be uncomfortable. I'm willing to get laughed at this point. I almost don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because this means, you guys mean so much to me. You guys mean so much. I don't think you get it. And I don't think I'm doing a good job of explaining it. I don't even know how to explain it.
You are.
I don't know how to explain how much when somebody reaches out and says, somebody reached out today and said, you guys work so hard and I can tell you put so much into every episode. And it's like, fuck, thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much. Because we do.
Yeah.
Because we do. We stay up until 2 o'clock when we're together and we don't sleep because we're idiots.
Right.
And,
Also true.
Also true. During 4-hour car rides, we're listening to our old reps or we're talking about how to get better. And it's like, that's the stuff nobody will ever see, and I don't care, and I know you don't care if anybody ever sees it. Unless you guys want to see it. If you want to see it, we'll help you figure out what your behind the scenes is. But the only reason we're willing to do this is because I want to help you now. We want to help you now, but maybe one day down the road, you'll help somebody else because we helped you.
Definitely.
And that's how you change the world. That's how you change the world. Imagine that. We just crossed 30,000 listens. Imagine if every single one of our listeners helped 3 people.
I know.
That's how you change the world. And then those people help 3 people.
3 people, yeah.
You know, that's our why power is so much bigger than a lot of people's.
Let's crunch some numbers real quick. So the amount...
I shouldn't have said anything about numbers.
Yeah, right. Imagine you were to touch 1,000 people's lives in this life. And I mean really touch their soul, touch their life, like make a real tangible difference. Like some decision they made was different because of you. Something they used to think they no longer think, or something that they have thought they then doubled down on because of your example. If those 1,000 people were to touch 1,000 people, and those 1,000 people touched 1,000 people, the number jumps past 1 million quick.
Oh, yeah.
These are exponential. So the ripple effect that you have in this universe, this whole... Steve Jobs is one of my heroes. He dented the universe. And, I don't agree with everything he stood for necessarily, but when it came to vision, the focus on impact, and the focus on the ultimate difference that he wanted to make it's just huge. And so there's the timer.
Alan says regrettingly.
Yeah, right.
There's the timer.
The last thing that I want to say, should I just read the thing?
Yeah, before
let's
you
just
read
the
it,
thing.
I just want to hammer this point.
Do
Legacy. What do you want to be remembered for?
Yeah.
Like, not only what do you want to be remembered for, but what do you want to remember for yourself? I think I'm always going to remember more how many people I helped than almost anything else. I'm going to remember the person I became more than the things I did. And I want you guys to lock that in. That's all you have on your deathbed. All you have is the things that you've done and the person that you are and the relationships that you've built, right? The best version of you is going to have the best version of your relationships.
Yeah.
And you're going to help the most amount of people. What do you want to be remembered for? Just write it out. Even if it's selfish. Even if it's for having the most amount of money ever of all time. That's fine. That's going to make you do things that you wouldn't normally do otherwise. So what do you want to be remembered for?
Everyone talks about how it's the journey. And to be completely honest, I agree that it's about the journey, but what people fail to realize, and you've probably heard me say this, it's the journey is completely dictated by the end result.
Absolutely.
You must reverse engineer the finish line, and to be honest, the finish line for all of us is death, and you cannot take anything with you. You can't take your cars, you can't take your clothes, you can't take anything with you. The only thing that we're here for, our purpose, is to give. I don't know what it is that you're going to give. I know mine. Helping more people believe in themselves and chase their dreams. Not just have dreams, but actually fucking chase them. Because the world needs what only you have, that only you can give. And so that's my thing. That's what I want to be remembered for. Figure out, like Kevin said, what you want to be remembered for. And the last thing I want to read here is something, I believe this is the greatest words ever spoken. And that's a bold statement, but you'll hear him in a second. Jim Carrey. So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him, and so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant, and when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. I've often said that I wish people could realize all of their dreams of wealth and fame so that they could realize that it's not where you're going to find your sense of completion. I can tell you from experience, the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency there is. How will you serve the world? What do they need that your talent can provide? That's all you have to figure out. Why not take a chance on faith as well? Not religion, but faith. Not hope, but faith. I don't believe in hope. Hope is a beggar. Hope walks through the fire and faith leaps over it. You are ready and able to do beautiful things in this world. That's a speech that I listen to every single morning for the last 3.5 years. That's part of what you guys don't see that makes me me. Whatever it is for you, life is not about getting, it's just fucking not. Life supports that which supports life. Figure out what you want to give to the world and go all in on that.
What an appropriate episode for episode number 100. We did not do that on purpose, really. Guys, that's it. That was a great reading. Jim Carrey literally wrote a check to himself for $10 million, put it in his wallet, gave himself 5 years to make $10 million, and got paid $10 million for his role in Dumb and Dumber. So Jim Carrey knows what he's talking about. What do you want to be remembered for? What do you want to remember yourself for? What impact do you want to have on other people, on the world, on your family, on your friends, on your relationships, on your school, on your hospital, whatever it is? That's what legacy is. When we die, we leave behind who we were. We leave behind how we touched people, how we made them feel. So when you ask yourself, what do I want to be remembered for? That's the beginning of how you figure out the legacy you will leave behind. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We are both fired up, and we will talk to you on the next one.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening to another episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast.
Going hyperconscious will absolutely change your life, because if you understand why something is the way it is, now you have the power to change it. If you going hyperconscious with us has changed your life in any way, please share this episode with one of your friends, because the more people that go hyperconscious, the better this world's going to be for everybody.
And if you would kindly leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, that would help us make more people hyperconscious, and we would be greatly appreciative.
Thank you.
Bye.